Anybody out there who's looking for an editor, Rebecca is an amazing editor. What is it, sterlingwords.com? She's fantastic. Next up is Dominic Brogsdale. Dominic Brogsdale resides in 614 Columbus, where he studies psychology and criminology at Columbus State. Dominic was born to a 14-year-old mother and a father who was a gangbanger, or so legend has it. He draws on his experience of homelessness, foster care, and life in the inner city to portray the beautiful yet harsh reality of urban life today. He has a lot of stories to tell, but tells no tales. Through his words, Dominic hopes to reach the children lost in darkness. Please join me in welcoming Dominic.
Yo, what's up? How you doing? All right, this story is called Evil on Top of Evil, Part 2. After about an hour of driving that night, Earl's mind settled enough to allow him to focus. Rap music blared from the speakers. Staring through the windshield into the night sky, he thought to himself, can't go to Mexico because I don't have a passport. The money's gonna run out fast. It was like popcorn kernels bursting in his mind. His girlfriend, Ebony, setting up the robbery. Him and his comrades, swift as panthers, stealing into the homes of vulnerable prey. Then like a shark, Earl turned on them. Earl pulled out Fraser Boys on the bass CD and turned to the song, I Had to Get 'Em. He cranked the volume all the way up, took a puff on a cigarette, blew smoke into the air and rapped along with the verse. His hands drummed the steering wheel as he sang at the top of his lungs. As he rapped and stared into the night, all he could see were the blood-soaked faces of his girlfriend and her children and his childhood buddies laying in an ocean of thick red blood. Earl put the song on repeat, but by the third time, he didn't sing along. He just kept thinking about the two things he needed, money and shut-eye. He pulled onto the shoulder and turned off the ignition. He leaned the driver's seat back as far as it would go and snuggled back. Pulling a jacket from the back seat, he draped it over himself and closed his eyes. Just a couple of hours, he promised himself with a drawl, crackling yawn. Anxiety and discomfort woke him, waking up in a cold sweat, thinking of the fresh meat he put holes in. He thought about his girlfriend, always being a gnat, small and pesky. Not to mention children never listening and making more noise than the busiest day of Tokyo, Japan. So he had to end the annoyance with raging gunfire. After stretching and stepping out of the car to take a piss, he climbed back and peeled onto the road. As he got closer to the city, Earl pulled up at another gas station and yawned. It was now 7 a.m. and the sun peeked over the eastern horizon. There was nobody at the gas station except for a few employees. Stepping from his car and stretching again, he looked around and thought about robbing the place. But then again, too much heat on me right now. Too many cameras. Looking at the gas pumps, he imagined a recording of him pulling the trigger over half a dozen people in a NASCAR time span, quick and out the door like the finish line. He shook his head in the wind, trying not to think about it, although it came back to hunt him like a scourge of infested mosquitoes. Earl refilled the tank, paid, and drove off. He plugged the phone into the charger and called out, "Hey Google, nearest homeless shelter." The phone didn't pick it up, so Earl tried it again, louder. "Google, nearest homeless shelter." Again, the phone failed to respond. Earl sighed and stared at the phone. Worthless, rusty phone. He typed his request into the search engine and waited a couple of seconds. The phone gave him different homeless shelters around the city. Earl looked at the locations and hit the link to the closest one. About 20 minutes later, he pulled in front of the Faith Mission Church. Hungry and still yawning, he parked and entered the church. As he walked inside, he felt the evil violence of his actions follow him like a dark, shadowy, demonic cloud soiling a big white cloud filled with a bunch of angels. The elderly black woman at the front desk looked up, smiled, and asked in a friendly manner, "How may I help you today, young man?" Yeah, you got some food? I'm hungrier than a mother." Earl caught himself before it escaped. He paused and tried again. "Sorry, do you have some breakfast this morning?" She stared at him, dark eyes blinking behind the lenses of her glasses. After a long moment, she gave Earl a gentle smile, turned towards the door and said, "Right through those doors, young man." Earl nodded and said, "Good looking out." As he passed, the elderly woman shook her head and muttered something beneath her breath. Earl looked back at her from the corner of his eyes, but kept moving and passed through the double doors. He looked around and saw people chatting around tables, basketball hoops, and a line for breakfast. Earl took his place in line. The line moved slowly. Impatient, Earl grumbled, "Hurry up! He finally made it to the front of the line where a large black woman with a stern voice and no facial expression said, "I ain't know, babe. What kind of bread you want?" Earl replied, "What you got?" "White or wheat, babe?" "White." Earl remembered his manners, and thinking back to the elderly woman at the front desk, added, "Please." The woman then asked, "Oatmeal, bacon, eggs, bottle of orange juice, okay?" Earl said, "Yes," and lots of it. Without changing expression, she said, "I can only give you one serving, sweetie. We got other hungry mouths to feed." Earl looked back at the line, reminded himself that this was free food, and said, "Whatever you got." The woman's blank expression broke. She winked her left eye, smiled, and replied, "Big Mama will take care of you. If we have enough left over, I got you." Earl smiled back and replied, "Good looking out." He had his way with the ladies. She smiled and handed him his tray. "God bless you, sweetie." Earl nodded and said, "Thank you. You too." He carried his tray to one of the tables and sat next to an elderly man. The old man's long gray beard had food in it. He wore a dingy brown suit and had nappy salt and pepper hair. Earl lifted his nose, sniffed, and thought, "Dang, this old dude stinks." With a creak, another man sat on the other side of him. Earl glanced at him and realized he was stuck between the old black man and an older white man wearing a dirty tank top and skinny Nike shorts with holes in them. The white man's hair was patchy, short, and gray. He smelled bad too. Earl looked around at the assortment of broken humanity gathered around him and felt crowded by the two older men at the table. Children ran like cubs in the wild. Their shrieks and demand gnatted on his nerves. Remembering him of Ebony's kids, he looked around at the other older people and rethought, forget it. They all look like they smell like a New York trash dump. He considered bolting for the door. The elderly black man gave him a gap-toothed smile and said in a friendly manner, "You new here, young man?" Schooling his face to no expression, Earl replied, "Something like that." The elderly man continued the conversation. "You don't mind me asking what your name is?" "E," Earl said. "E, huh?" He paused, then continued. "Okay, E, nice to meet you. My name is G." "What up, G?" With another smile, the old man asked, "Where you from, E?" Again, schooling his expression to neutrality, Earl rebuffed the question. "Why you want to know? You police?" The swarm of mosquitoes turned to hornets as G's questions landed like stingers. The man chuckled and said, "No, I ain't no police. Look at me." You could be undercover," Earl said. The elderly man scoffed. "Yeah, right. As long as I've been on these streets and the felonies I got, they wouldn't hire me on the force." Curiosity piqued. Earl asked, "What you do, G?" The elderly man took a sip of water and counted. "What didn't I do?" Overhearing the conversation, the old white man on Earl's other side leaned over and commented in a cloud of foul-smelling breath. "Shoot, that old bastard did every kind of crime you could think of." G snorted and said, and you was on every drug you could think of. That's why you look like a pasty old white horse. So shit. The white man grunted. "Remember, we both did the same boat, you old rat bastard." Yeah, whatever. G turned around from the white man as G Took another sip of water. The old white man whispered in Earl's ear, "Watch. He'll start talking to you and ask you for some money before you leave." Earl smirked and shoved a fork full of breakfast into his mouth. Putting his cup down, G asked, "You look young. How old are you?" Chewing on his food, Earl answered, 20. G nodded and asked, "You ain't got no mama. I know you just ain't in here with us poor folks." Earl quietly said, "Nah, I ain't got no mama, man." "What happened?" G asked. "You starting to sound like, kind of like a caseworker, G," Earl snorted. G shook his head slowly. "Just curious." Earl paused to reflect, then answered, I don't think she loved us, man. She used to tell my brothers and me to sneak into people's homes and bring back whatever we could find." G nodded. "What y'all do?" What do you mean, what did we do? I just told you what we did." G said, "I mean, how'd y'all do it?" "We broke into homes, in the hoods, got close to people, steal their stuff, or, put stuff in our coats and stuff at the store, things like that." His voice slowed to a slow hiss. If we refused to steal something, she would beat us, yell at us, slap us. There was this one time she put a gun in my mouth and threatened me if I didn't do it. We were just trying to stay alive, man. You feel me? G nodded. "Drugs?" Earl's eyebrows went skyward. At the old man's insight, Earl sighed. "Yeah, doing drugs, stealing drugs, try to sell drugs, you name it. Yeah, your mama must have been on that hard crack or something. She probably loved y'all, but she was just messed up in that head, man." G shot a glance at the white man sitting on Earl's other side and said, "You don't want to end up like that toothless old bastard over there." The white man was talking with the man across the table. He took a gulp of his coffee, smiled with no teeth, and said, "The hell did you say to me, you no tooth having bastard?" G smiled and replied, "Nothing. Nothing at all." Ignoring the exchange between the two old men, Earl's thoughts turned back to his family. G's friendly attention he never had before, warmed him. The lack of it in his life made him bitter. "I didn't see the love." "Where's your brothers and sisters now?" G asked. A pained expression crossed the young man's face. He looked at G and said, "One brother ran away, 2 in prison, 1 in for stealing cars, things like that. And the other one just disappeared and the other one's dead." G said, "I'm sorry to hear that. How did they die? If you don't mind me asking." Earl sighed. "He got set up in a burglary. They was trying to get away, I guess, and shot him in his legs. Everyone else got away, and they lit him up." He shrugged. "That's the way the story was told to me." G said, "Damn, what about your sisters?" Earl smiled. "Now that's a different story. My one older sister, she married some rich white dude. I don't know what she did with him because I don't even know how she got him because she was just super ghetto. But she's taking him for everything he got, manipulating him." G chewed on another bite of his breakfast and commented, "Yeah, some honey got game like that." Earl agreed. "Yeah, she got game all right. She ain't in the hood no more. I think she met a good old boy online or something, but she got 2 kids by him and everything. She don't work or do a gosh dang thing, but hey, he allows it. More power to her, I guess." G shook his head and said, "I heard that. Now, what about your other sister?" Earl grinned and continued. She joined this gang of chicks. They're worse than a bunch of bad kids. They go around stores with ski masks and rob people at random. G shook his head and looked Earl in the eye with a sober expression. He said, "You robbing and stealing too?" Amusement vanished. Earl responded calmly, trying to shrug the question off. "Nah, man, I don't do that." Earl tried to have the most emotionless face as possible. G raised his eyebrows and said, "Hey, you never know when you're raised in a den of thieves." Earl rubbed his chin, punctured his lips, reflected again on the murders. He shrugged and drawled out, "Yeah, you never know," trying to evade the question. Earl chuckled and gulped down the orange juice. G asked, "So, you got any kids or girlfriend?" Eyes narrowing with renewed suspicion, Earl remarked, "You sure are asking a lot of questions. You sure you ain't the police?" She laughed again. "Son, do I look like the police?" Relieved, Earl degraded up, macho attitude, and replied, "Nah. But to answer your question, I did have a sister and I did have a girlfriend and some kids, but she left me." Curious, G asked, "Why?" Earl leaned back in the metal chair, paused, looked G in the eyes, and said, "They just left. There's only two places they could have gone. But at this point, I don't care, so screw it all." G nodded. "Yeah, it happens." Deciding that it was the other man's turn to answer questions, Earl asked, "What about you, OG? How you end up like this?" G sipped his water, smacked his lips, and said, "Well, I was in the military back in the 50s. I got discharged. My old lady was cheating on me, so I shot him in the behind, and I shot her stinking behind too. I got a felony, so it was hard for me to find work. So here I am." Earl looked at him in disbelief and said, "Damn, that's messed up." G let out a big breath of hot air and said, "Yep, son, don't get married. I spent all that time in the military trying to take care of her, and some dude stabbing another dude across seas. I just didn't know, and here he is, stabbing my wife every night. Ain't that a son of a gun?" Earl shook his head and agreed, "Yep, some of these chicks ain't worth a dang, man." She let out an aggressive sigh and echoed the young man, "Yep, ain't nothing, man." The woman who served Earl his breakfast announced loudly, "We're closing in 5 minutes. And no, we don't have seconds." Realizing he spent his time talking and not eating, Earl scarfed his food down. "Good talking to you, young man. Wish you the best out there," she said. Earl replied with a mouthful of food, "Good looking out." G took a deep breath and with a look of shame asked, "You got some spare change I can borrow to get a beer, son?" The old man tugged gently on Earl's hoodie and whispered, "I told you." "Nah, man, I'm struggling just like you, OG." G nodded. Yeah, thanks anyway." Finishing his breakfast, Earl left the gym. He looked at the lady at the front desk, recalled her last comment and said, loud enough so she could hear it, "You bitter old black bag." The woman grasped and said, "Excuse me, young man?" Earl kept walking. The woman yelled, I'll see to it that you never eat here again." Earl raised his middle finger in response and hurried back to his car. He pulled out his car keys. He turned on the radio, driving through traffic, thoughts of Ebony, the children, and the comrades he killed filled his mind instead of music. "I had to," he said to himself. "They was playing with my money." Earl reflected on his chaotic life, the memories flipping through his mind like the pages of a book. Each page brought something new. 1 minute, everything is juice in a glass. Then, like a swipe of a hand, everything shattered. Shards of glass everywhere, juice all over the place. And part of him didn't care. He's going to walk across it barefoot, taking the burns and the stings as they came. That's my time. Thanks for listening. Thanks everybody for coming out and supporting.